We're now joined by the head coach of the SEC Western Division champion Alabama Crimson Tide, head coach Nick Saban. Alabama enters Saturday's game with a record of 11-1 and ranked number 3 in the College Football Playoff Selection Committee rankings. We'll ask Coach Saban to give an opening comment, and then we will take your questions. So, Coach Saban, please give us some opening comments.
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate Kirby and, Georgia's football team for winning the East. They've played tremendous football all season long, probably the most consistent team, the most dominant team all year. And I think, that's because of the competitive character they have, the great coaching staff that they have, and the good job that they've done together as a team. It's certainly a privilege and an honor for us to be in the SEC championship game. We think that's one of the best competitive venues, in college football, and certainly going to be a great challenge for our team to play what I feel is probably the best team in the country in this particular game. So, we're looking forward to that opportunity.
Thank you, Coach. We will now begin questions with Michael Casagrande, AL.com. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, is there an update on Brian Robinson, where he is this week in practice?
We're doing some things with him today in practice and see how he responds. So it's going to be day to day. So we'll just have to see how it goes.
Our next question will come from Nick Kelly of the Tuscaloosa News. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, and for Darren Delcourt's ankles, where's he at heading into this game?
Pretty much the same situation that B-Rob's in. He's been able to practice on a limited basis, and we'll see what he can do today, how he responds to it, and it's going to be a day-to-day situation as well.
Next question comes from Mike Rodak. Go ahead, Mike.
Make it one more injury question with Jalen Davis and how he's gotten through the week.
Yeah, he's been able to do just a limited amount of things. He doesn't play a position where if he's not, full speed, he could be expected to play, but we're still going to sort of look at him on a day-to-day basis too and see how he progresses. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Next question will come from Tony Salakis. Tony.
Nick, given the way that this game's kind of played out and the talent of both quarterbacks on Georgia's roster, have you prepared for both of them for this game? And in addition, just what does each of them have to offer in terms of skill set, in your opinion?
I think both the guys do a really, really good job with their offense. I don't think their offense changes significantly. I think, Sensen Bennett is very athletic. He extends plays. He's quick, fast, and has made plays with his feet, probably a little more. But their offense doesn't change. Both guys are very talented. Both guys do a really good job of sort of executing their offense. And, they run the football effectively. They have a great balance. They have good play action passes. They've got good skill guys outside. And they got a good effective scheme when they do have to throw the ball, whether it's third down, 2 minute, whatever. So I don't see that they're going to do different things with these guys in the game.
Coach, our next question comes from Chip Towers. Go ahead, Chip.
Yeah, Coach, we haven't talked as much about your relationship with Kirby this year. I guess it's getting to be old hat, the fourth time you guys going against each other. But I just wonder, in a business that is so wickedly competitive, does any part of you been able to enjoy what he's been able to do at Georgia? Pretty much using your blueprint over there, the things he learned under you, and now he's, obviously trying to do that to use those principles to finally defeat you.
Well, Kirby's done a marvelous job. He did a outstanding job in all the years that we were together. I don't know, it was 9 or 10 years. It was a long time, that we worked together, and he did as good a job as anybody that I've ever had on our staff. I knew that when he got his opportunity to be a head coach, he would do a really good job. He's bright, he's smart, he's enthusiastic. He does a good job in relationship with players. He's a good recruiter. So, he's done a great job there. And look, I'm always very gracious in terms of the gratitude that I have for what guys did when they were with us. And I understand that they do it well because they want opportunities themselves, and it's always good to appreciate what they did for us, but also there's some pride in it that they have gone on and done very well in building their own program, and Kirby just done a fantastic job.
Next question comes from Lance McCurley. Go ahead, Lance.
Hey, Coach Saban, you caught Kirby in year 2 in the national championship, and you faced him early in his career 2 years later. What have you seen him? How has he developed as a coach over the last couple of years into putting Georgia at a spot that it hasn't been in since 1982?
Well, they were in the spot 2 years ago, or whenever it was, 2017, whenever we played in the national championship game. So I think they have been in the spot, and I think Kirby's done a really good job the whole time he's been there. He's got really good players now. They're really well coached. They've been the most consistent team all year long, which is a tribute to, he and his staff, and being able to, have a sense of purpose and, what their team is out to try to accomplish and do. So I can't really point to anything, because I've always thought they did a great job. I thought it was, a great game that we had. Every game that we've had has been a great game, and I've had the utmost respect for Kirby and his team in those games, and I certainly have it in this game.
Our next question comes from Charlie Potter. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, hey, Coach, going back to injuries, just how has Jojo Earp progressed, and do you have an update on Robbie Oots?
Robbie Oots has a stress fracture in his foot, so he's not going to be in the game. Jojo is making progress. I don't think enough to be able to play in the game at this point, but probably will be back, sometime shortly.
Our next question comes from AP Stedham. Go ahead, AP.
Hey, Coach, have you made a decision who will be the holder for the field goals and extra points? And what does Georgia do to provide so many opportunities for the freshman tight end Brock Bowers, and what are the difficulties guarding him?
Well, he's an outstanding player, no doubt. Probably as good a tight end as we've faced all year. I think they have 3 really good tight ends. He's probably the best receiver, although they're all very capable, good players. He's difficult to guard. He's got good size. He's very athletic, great hands, good route runner. So he's very challenging to guard. Anytime you got big guys that have that kind of, skill level, it's harder for smaller guys to cover them. It's harder to find bigger guys that are athletic enough to cover them. From a holder standpoint, I'm going to listen to the kicker. It's who he's most comfortable with and who he has confidence in terms of getting the ball down. And so that decision will get made based on, what our kicker thinks, what Will thinks.
Our next question comes from Carl Prather. Carl?
Hey, Nick, I wanted to ask you about a couple of players that have been in the program for quite some time, in LeBron Ray and Kendall Randolph, and what they've meant to you in your program throughout the years.
Yeah, those 2 guys have done, really well in the program, not only on the football field, but they both, developed very nicely personally and done a good job in school. Both these guys have had really good years and made solid contributions in a very positive way to our team this year. LeBron has really had to overcome a lot of injuries and things in his career here, but is playing his best football probably of his career right now because he's healthy. Kendall has been a role player for us and always willing to buy in and do whatever he can to help the team. So those guys have been real solid people in our program, and they've been really solid performers for us.
Next up, we'll go to Anthony Dasher.
Hi, Coach. Anthony Dasher from UGAsports.com. Another Stetson Bennett question for you. I know when he played in Tuscaloosa last year, I believe it was his 4th career start. started a lot of games now since then. I just wonder whenever you watch him on tape now, what anything different about him right now, the way he's performing as opposed to what you saw that game last season?
Well, I think he's playing with a lot of confidence, and obviously the experience that he's gained through having additional starts, having more time in the offense. He does a really good job of executing what they do. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's accurate with the ball. He can extend plays. But I think he's really smart. He sees what the defense is going to do. He gets the ball out of his hand very quickly to the right guys for the most part. So, and I think those things sort of just develop with knowledge and experience. And I can definitely see, how that's benefited him in terms of the consistency that he's played with this year, because he's been outstanding.
Next question comes from Edgar Thompson. Go ahead, Edgar.
Yes, sir. Playing off an answer from earlier, what did Billy Napier bring to your program, and that maybe foreshadowed his rise in the coaching ranks?
Billy did an outstanding job for us. I mean, he was a very good coach. He was a good recruiter. He had great relationships with the players. He was a good teacher on the field. Hard worker, great character, great personality, very, very good family. There's nothing bad that I could think of to say about Billy Napier in terms of what he did here. And no surprise to me, because he's a very well-organized guy and does due diligence before he makes any decision about anything. Very calculated in terms of how he tries to do things in a very positive way for his organization. So not a surprise to me that he did really, really well when he got a head coaching job. And I think he'll continue to do well.
Next question comes from Mike Griffith. Go ahead, Mike.
Coach, we've seen you adapt and change over the years with the game, whether it's strategies, things like that. What about adapting and adjusting to teams and their personalities in terms of your ability to relate, motivate, maybe this year's team being a little bit younger and less experienced than the group you had last year, which seemed to be a little bit more self-governing?
Right. Well, I think you make a good point. I think when you have an older team, you have, a little more maturity in terms of leadership, guys buying in, guys understanding exactly and believing in and trusting in what they, need to do to be successful. I think sometimes that can be a little bit of a work in progress when you have younger guys as they develop into that, even though those older guys that you had last year, they went through that same sort of process when they were younger players. So, and I do think the approach is a little different. In terms of the patience that you have to have and just trying to be a good teacher every opportunity you have to try to get these guys to learn the lessons that's going to help them in life as well as going to help them be better players. And I think, when they see that their behavior, the habits that they create are going to be helpful in them being successful, whether it's personally, academically, or athletically, they kind of mature and get into it and understand what it takes, and they develop. And I think our team has developed. A lot of young players on our team has developed this year, but we need to continue to work in that direction.
Again, if you have a question, use the raise a hand function. We'll go to Stephen Smith for our next question.
Coach, the players on the team have been and just continue to be excited for Trey Sanders, getting on the field. When you watch him in practice, whether it's in drills, in different situations, what has his mentality, his mindset been when he touches the football?
Yeah, I think, Trey has been through a lot. I think everybody knows the adversity that he's had to overcome with an injury, car accident. And I do think that it took a while for him, to get confidence in himself physically, that he could go out there and do the things that he's capable of, that he could do in the past. But I also think that the opportunities that he's had to play this year, the role that he has, a more significant role now, has also helped him develop, confidence and knowing that we trust and believe that he can go out there and play well and do a good job, I think is also something that always helps a player in terms of, the responsibility and accountability that he takes to go out there and do his job well. And I think he's done a good job of that for us, and we have a lot of confidence in him, moving forward.
Next, we'll go to Scott Rabelais. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Nick. Always good to talk with you.
Thanks, Scott.
I wonder if you had any two things. I wonder if you had any thoughts on Brian Kelly coming to LSU, and also LSU and Florida are two of 10 schools in the SEC that have changed coaches since 2019. The only ones that haven't are you, Georgia, A&M, and Kentucky, as you probably know. I just wondering what concerns maybe that makes you have for the coaching profession or the way things are heading with people's patience for trying to build a program.
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't really thought a lot about it. I think everybody's got to make their choices and decisions and have the freedom to do that relative to what they choose to do professionally. I've always had a lot of respect for the coaches that you mentioned in terms of the job that they've done, where they've been. But comments on, I haven't really thought about it. We're trying to get ready to play a game here, a very challenging game, and I haven't really thought a lot about what everybody else is out there doing, but trying to focus on what we need to do here.
Hey, Coach, next we'll go to Mark Weiser. Go ahead, Mark.
Nick, the offense under Todd Monken in his second year, how does it look different than last year, and certainly the Georgia offenses you saw in 17 and 18 when you went up against them?
Yeah, well, they're very good offensively. They've got a lot of diversity in what they do. They do a good job of utilizing the personnel that they have in various positions. They've got a lot of good skilled players, a lot of good running backs. I think does a good job of quarterback efficiency in terms of what he does, the system that he has, and those guys have responded very well at the quarterback position as well. But I just think it's not a different offense. I just think it's an offense that is a very difficult offense to defend, but one that they just do a really good job of executing. And you can tell that there's been seasoning with the players, and their knowledge and experience of what's expected of them is really improved as they've grown in the offense. And they're very, very good in terms of what they do. And I think it's a good system. It's well implemented, and the players do a really good job of executing it.
Next question comes from Allison Mastrangelo. Go ahead, Allison.
Hey, Coach Saban, it's not very often that your team is considered an underdog, but now you're going up against number one Georgia. So how is your team dealing with the pressure of playoff implications, already coming in with one loss and kind of making this a must-win situation for you guys?
Well, I think what our players need to do is just focus on playing one play at a time, trying to win as many plays in a game as they can. Don't worry about the scoreboard. Don't worry about what the outcome means, because we just need to focus on what we need to do to play well in this game, as you said, against the number one team in the country and a very, very good team. So it's going to take a very good effort by a lot of people to be able to win, those plays. So that's what we're focused on here now. We're focused on what do we have to do to try to get the outcome, rather than worrying about what the outcome is, which, as you say, creates a lot of anxiety. So that's basically how we're trying to approach it.
Next question comes from Lane Higgins. Go ahead, Lane.
Hey there. I wanted to ask a little about kind of the strategies in building programs and how it's shifted towards maybe favoring the portal, and that, in previous years, you weren't really a big coach in that area, but you've had, great success with players recently with, Lynn Dickerson, Jameson Williams, and Henry. And I'm just curious, what sort of utility do you see in it now, and how has that changed the way that you approach roster management?
Well, I think it's you have to look at it as whether you agree with it or disagree with it, you have to look at it as a source of bringing talented players to your team. My philosophy has been, if a player can help our team be more successful, and he's got the right kind of character and attitude, and he's wants to buy into the things the way we want to try to do them here to help him be successful, then we're certainly going to consider, every avenue of how you can bring, players to your team. We still believe in, young players that we can develop in our program, but at the same time, I think you have to consider this no different than the free agent pool if you were in the NFL, because, it's kind of, it's a pool of players that are available that, can help your team.
Okay, the next question is from AP Stedham. Go ahead, AP.
Coach, if you had the choice, would you select a defensive lineman that can rush up the middle, or is it more effective on the edge?
I think whatever's more effective in getting to the quarterback. So, and it depends in some cases on the quarterback. When guys are really good runners, you want to make sure you can contain them, and other guys, maybe you can have a little different approach if they're not as mobile or whatever. But I don't really have a choice. You just like to have effective pressure when you choose to pressure, and hopefully it affects the quarterback.
Coach Saban, that's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us. Good luck on Saturday.
All right, thank you.